Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's me, Colin, Project Constitution. With me today is my guest host again, Stephen Benoon, Israeli News Live. Uh, we have quite some developments since our last live stream we did yesterday. There has been new images, still photos, not video, but there has been still photos released from the rear video camera that TPUSA has been hiding for all these months. The same camera that Terrell Farnsworth took down and took the SD cards out of minutes after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So we examined those photos and we found a couple oddities that we want to go over with you guys today. So that's pretty much what the stream is going to be about. I see everybody in the chat. Hello, welcome, hi, glad to see you guys all. Debbie, I see you in here again. Thank you. And yeah, so I guess the first thing we should do is probably show the images, just the raw images of what was released, right? You want to do that?
I think so, 100%, Colin. And this really changes the dynamics too when it comes to, as Candace has been saying, this inside, whether you want to call it inside job cooperation. There are multiple people that knew what was going to go down that day. For them to swipe that SD card, keep that out of the public limelight, see this man's hand injured right there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely show the thing, Colin. That, you know, I'm so happy the person posted it. That's about the best I could say for that. But you know, I won't say anything else on that. But still, I'm grateful that they did post this, because I think it's going to give us a lot more. It's going to give us a lot more information to be able to look at and compare it to what we have just released yesterday.
Oh, big time. All right. So we have two what's actually, I think it's one image, but it's also zoomed in. So it's technically two images, I guess. Or technically one image, but it's two images. So as you see here, we have the shot of Charlie from the rear camera behind him. This is at the moment of impact. Or actually, it's not the moment. I think it's because his head's already tilted. So they think this is right after the moment of impact. And then if we go.
You know what I'm wondering, Colin, is why is there that blackout on the screen? What are they hiding on?
Yeah, I would like to know that too. That's a question that I have as well. Why is that there? Who put that there? Did Blake put that there? Did Turning Point put that there? Who put that there? And how did Blake get those images? Because Turning Point has been hiding them for all this time. So how did he come across these images? That's what I'd like to know.
And by the way, what Colin has shown you guys there right now, I went, because, you know, people could say, well, this is photoshopped or something like that. But there's another image that he posted about, you know, his hand in the casket. So I actually went and found the original photos from the casket to see. And sure enough, even though it's been make-upped over, you can still see bleeding through the makeup these injuries to Charlie's hand.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually have that in this video here as well. But if you look, this is zoomed in a little bit more. You can see that there are dark marks on Charlie's hand here, which appear to be some kind of injury. You know, I don't know whether it's burns or bruises or what, but it's clearly some kind of an injury. And it's not blood. We know for sure. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I think I know why they blacked it out.
What?
We're searching this microphone over, Colin, to try to find out if there was something in this microphone. Now, granted, Could it be from the receiver on his waistline, which will show that, and the shrapnel blowing out from under his shirt that hit his hand? That is very plausible. But at the same time, notice, Colin, right there at the top edge there, it's almost like, okay, we want you to see this cuts here, but we don't want you to see that there's a gaping hole maybe in the microphone itself.
That could be, because there's clearly something weird going on with this microphone. Now that we have it zoomed in a little bit, you can see a couple things here with this microphone. One, you can see right here at the base, it does not appear to be, appears to be a gap, like it's sitting on top, like Steve says, sitting on top of like a post, like a fence post or whatever.
Right.
It looks like it's maybe like a triangular base or a square base, not a round base like a normal microphone. And there's a gap there. You can see that there's some sort of a gap there, which is not normal. That is not how regular microphones are.
And I've got several microphones, including wireless, wired ones like they've got there. I mean, I'm not saying, Colin, that they don't make a microphone like that, and we didn't take time really to go research that yet. But in my personal collection of microphones from doing television that we did before, and we had different types of microphones. All of our cord mics, they normally just came right up flush. As that cone shape comes up on there, it would go right to the head and just seat around the head of the microphone itself. But maybe there is a microphone like that. But as you pointed out to me, you got the top part of it is flattened out on one side. I mean, maybe that happened before somebody dropped it or something. I don't know. But that, and what's the thing that's kind of interesting is the way
you can see exactly like what you just said there. It looks like somebody took a bite out of the microphone. It's like there's a chunk missing out of that top portion right there.
Right. And then why did they make the blackout look like a cell phone sitting in the way? Was that to kind of throw people when you do look at this, so you don't question that this is intentionally blacked out in that one area there? Why is the rest of his hand blacked out? And why is it that it covers part of that mic? Wow. Oh, gosh, I'd love to see the original of this without any editing done to it, Colin.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, real quick, before we move forward, I'll show you the picture of the casket too, where you can see right here, the pictures, you can see the same marks on Charlie are on the hand, same here in the casket. It's under the makeup, so it's a little bit harder to tell, to see them, but they're still there. You can see them right there.
Yes.
And right there, you can still see those same marks on his hand while he's in the casket. And this is the photo with Erica over top of him in the casket. There's another photo of it, zoomed in a little more, where you can clearly see them. Anyway, yeah, so that is the photos that we have. And now Steve has some stuff that he's going to bring up that's going to show us kind of why this is important, why these photos matter.
Exactly. And they do matter. And let me let's see, let me get the right one up here. Okay. Oh, here. Nope, that's not it. Hang on one second. I'll just have to open it back up. We'll go to the
I don't think so. Callie here just said those marks weren't there when he was throwing hats, right? I don't think so. I don't remember seeing any marks. I'll go back and look to make sure. But I do not believe so. I think that those marks were from the impact.
Right. I would think too, had he had these scuffs all over his hands like this, I mean, I would feel anyway, but it is reasonable. We do need, if somebody even in the chat can start kind of maybe looking at those types of images and see what they find, I think that would really be nice to see that as well. Let me pull this up here, and I can show you guys what we were talking about here. Let's see. Got to find out which one it is. Let's see. Is it that one? Oh, wait a minute. No, I need to go to, here we go. That one there. All right. There we go. I got it up there, Colin.
And then you can remember yesterday, the picture we showed you here, remember that Charlie was wearing this microphone receiver underneath of his shirt right there on the left side as well. So keep that in mind too, as we're showing you this stuff.
Exactly, because what we're looking at, what we're fixing to look at here in just a second here, I have two arrows on here because if you guys remember yesterday, I showed you the back of Charlie's neck there where it has a slight bulge out right after the impact strikes him. And we could see where his neck had a little slight curvature. And this is the first time that I really sincerely believed when Candace said she had gotten inside information that his spinal cord stopped the whatever. And if you'll notice, Candace said, but you guys were right. It's not a 30-06. She knew that. It wasn't a 30-06, some kind of I would assume a metal fragment or something like that went into his neck there that caused all this damage, but it didn't have the velocity to go through. It was made for doing severe damage to small tissue. And then on this photo here, where Colin has this on the screen for you now, I've got two arrows. One is an arrow going up from his waistline. It's right there on top of that transceiver that he's wearing there. And I put it right there at the entrance point there to his neck there. And that one, though, would have actually hit right around the base of the spine and the neck, or excuse me, the base of the skull and the neck, which they talk about there being, that it was the nerve root there in the spine of the, from coming from his neck there to his brain that caused the paralysis. All right. But then I also did what had bugged me. And I actually found the video online too today, because there was like this people were saying, oh, that's a bullet, that was by his leg. And when you slow it down, that item that was by his leg that looked like a flying bullet actually is there before Charlie is struck, like instantaneously before he's struck. And so I noted that. So I figured maybe that was a fragment. But then what I did is I took from where Charlie's microphone was right there between his legs, and I did the arrow going up to the entrance wound and to that part of the neck that I saw curving out. And that trajectory wise, it would somewhat match up. But then again, if something exploded from this transceiver and fragmentation going out from under his shirt or something of that effect, that could have hit his hand. It's hard to say which is which, but clearly I think, Colin, what we're looking at now is if we can verify that, okay, there is no marks on his hands before this moment, whether we see it in the video where he's sitting there and somebody captures it like that, or he's throwing hats, things like that, then we know this is clearly a cover-up. The evidence is on his hand. His hand was was very, very badly scuffed up. That's obvious. They're removing those cards. They don't want anybody to see the camera footage from behind. And now you have this amazing image that we have pop up there. Now, I could not reduplicate it when I showed it to you, Colin, but I will try to see if I can again while we're just sitting here. But I've got the video footage from that side. We would not show anything of the actual impact or graphic, but, and I want to make sure I get it just right before I do show it though. But it seems to me that in one frame on this, I actually see that microphone dip. And you know, and then that we have that moment of impact there. But it was, the dip was like right before, and I'm playing with it now before. Okay, I actually got it. Okay, let me put that on the screen as well, and let's see if we can do this without showing anything graphic there. And I just want to bring your attention to the, what we want to look at is looking at the microphone itself, because it was kind of an odd thing to me to see this. And let me see, get the right one. Is that it? I think that's it. Let's see. Okay, if we can jump that up there, Colin.
Good to go.
Okay, now watch the microphone itself. Okay, I'm trying to do this without. There. Okay, right.
Unfortunately, we can't zoom it in, so you're just going to have to look closely here and you know, try to make it full screen for yourself.
Yeah, I had it a second ago there. What I normally see is right in this area here, right when the microphone is sitting right there, suddenly there's a little shift down and then the impact. It's like almost simultaneously, and it's catching that moment right there. If I can just get this, there it is right there. Whoop,
yeah, I caught it.
There it is right there. It's he's already gone down and he stops, and then what it does is it just right there, that's it right there, that little clicking part there, he's already down, and then it clicks and it goes a little further down, but it's hard to catch it. It's right, that's where he's just at a resting position with it. And then what happens is that microphone, oh, if I can do it, there it is, it just clicked just that. Oh, I can't get it to stay still long enough. Then it pops down like just a fragment. Right there is where it pops down. I wish I could just make it. There it is, like that. See that little movement there, Colin? Oh gosh, I got too far away from it again. There it is. There it is, right there. I mean, you got to stare at it almost. But then what happens, as soon as it goes down, Charlie is hit. And in one of those images, they show that little streak that's right there by his leg. Now, anytime you kind of move a video, because it's a blur anyway, it appears if it's coming from an upward trajectory coming down, but it could be a fragment of something coming out, whether it be from under his shirt, from the microphone, whatever. I don't have any idea on that part, Colin, I really don't. But that was that. And then let's see here. Colin, where did you go? There you are. I thought you disappeared for a minute. And then the other one there, and I know you have this already too, but I'll just quickly, I can pull this back up as well.
Yeah, I put it on full screen. That way people could see it better.
Perfect. Okay, let's see here. I want to pull up too. I know you've already shown this, Colin, but I just want people to pay a little closer attention. I took a screenshot of this earlier. Let's see, here we go.
So there's definitely something, you know, we're not saying that he was shot with the microphone in his hand, that the explode, you know, something came from that, but there's definitely something weird with that microphone. Same thing with the one that was under his chest, which is actually the receiver. You know, and like we said, as the one image Steve pulled up, where you could see the lines that he put on it, you could, if the receiver that was under his shirt on his belt on his left side there, if that exploded, it could very well have exploded down under his shirt and hit his hand and left those marks in his hand. So that could have been caused by the microphone under his shirt, or it could have been caused by something projecting out of the microphone he was holding. It could be either one, or it could be both. We don't know. I mean, it could very well be both. You know, Barron thinks that he may have been electrocuted with the microphone he was holding. You know, that's a possibility. Something could have been projected out of it. there's definitely something weird with the microphone he is holding. That's one thing that we just want to point out.
And this one here, Colin, that we just popped up on. Oh, you lost your microphone, Colin.
Go ahead.
Your audio had went out on you. I didn't know if you knew this. Even though you were talking, it went out on you.
No, I muted it. I was done.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What it is, I look over on. Never mind. Sorry. All right. I took and I zoomed in on his hand specifically, and there's something I want to point out in this here. When a person has passed away, of course, the blood is removed from the body, things like that. If this had been just where they were putting the makeup on his hands and stuff, if that had just been blood only from what we see in the images that we see, when the microphone's in his hand, then you would actually not, it'd be easier to cover up here. Like they did a much better job covering up around his knuckles there, but right there in the crease of his hand, which is right where the microphone's held at, right? It's right there in the crease. Those are actually bruises from the impact. Exactly.
Not only that, but they clean up the bodies before they go to the funeral. And we even have as Candace Owens said, that the doctor, the surgeon that was working on Charlie, even he was cleaning up. He went to clean up to clean up Charlie before Erica came to see him in the hospital, and was stopped by the FBI, who would not let the surgeon go in to see his patient, which is really crazy. But then after the surgeon called somebody in DC, like a congressman or something, and got them involved, and I'd like to know who he talked to in DC. That's kind of important. But after he talked to somebody, then they backed down and let him in there to finally clean up the body before Erica came in to see him. But so we know for a fact that the blood and everything was cleaned up from him before the funeral. So that would not be blood on his hand still in that casket. That's 100% an injury, a bruise or something.
Yeah, it's basically what it did. It bruised the skin enough, not just abrasion that skin, which it did, but it bruised his skin from the impact. And that may even be what we were looking at in those initial photos, is that it's more of a bruise from the shrapnel that is rapidly going away from his hands. Now, the FBI doing what they do reminds me of JFK assassination and how the government was involved and doctors were being pushed out of the way. That's very, I can tell you when I worked these things, I've been in to collect evidence before of someone that had been shot, things like that. They want to get a hold of a scene there and control it to where they can make sure there is no residue or something that might indicate that someone could figure this out in a different direction. Like, for example, did they go in there and make sure that any residue that could have been around his hand, if it was that itself that exploded, if it was something from the microphone that exploded, were they making sure there would be no residue found that would indicate that? Kind of like when a person is shot.
Oh, absolutely.
Suicide, right?
Yeah, I think that they did that. They covered up evidence that way. The same thing. That's the same reason that they also paved over the crime scene within like 2 days. They were covering up that evidence because it would show evidence of an explosive, the explosive material, and they had to hide that. But real quick, I want to address this comment here. It says, not to be rude, why would we care about a person being shot this much? It happens a lot on a daily basis in America. Well, one, he was not shot. That's a mistake. He definitely was not shot. I think we've proven that. But secondly, why we care so much is because this is bigger than Charlie. This isn't just about Charlie. This has revealed something much larger. This is about this has brought out what the elites are doing behind the scenes and now doing it publicly. and how they how they interact and how they connect, and their tactics, and it's brought all that to light, and it's really kicked off the war between us regular people and the elites.
Or if it's involvement of another government, if Israel is actually involved in his assassination because he became a loose cannon that they could not control, if it was a situation where Charlie was waking up and Zionism was not going to be something he was going to be speaking about much anymore, then it's also showing that they're willing to assassinate someone right there in public, so that you know what's going to happen to you if you follow suit and do the same thing. And there have been others that have been threatened as well. Candace has been threatened. Tucker Carlson's been threatened. All these people are being threatened if they dare speak against Israel. So I think this is why this matters. It's just like JFK. Why was JFK really assassinated in the first place?
We cannot let.
Right. He didn't want Israel to get a nuclear weapon. That was a major issue right there that a lot of people overlook, that he was not allowing Israel to have this technology because he didn't want them having a bomb like that. And after we see what Israel does today, I can see why this man kind of felt that way. He knew something would be really bad if they ever got a hold of this type of technology. And in fact, today, Mutasim, a friend of mine in Gaza, who's a journalist, just posted pictures of babies that were burnt really bad. And he said it was some of the weapons that Israel's been using with nuclear warheads on the top of them, little tactical nukes where they're using them for bunker busters, but they also just obliterate people within a certain distance nearby. So this is what's happened because we've allowed this technology to go in the wrong hands there. And I think too, this is another reason why that's so important that we get to the bottom of what happened to Charlie Kirk, because if we can really prove this, and I think now, Colin, with what you have gotten on this information, with his hand being done like this, obviously somebody's covering up something. They made the frame large enough like a cell phone, so you don't really know what they're trying to hide in there. But I'd really be curious to know if there was something on that microphone that was damaged that got covered up on the edge, or is there some other reason? Because there was really, I mean, think about it. What's the point in hiding that part of the scene of this photo? What would have been there so critical or so valuable that somebody didn't want the world to see?
Exactly. It's clearly something in there that they don't want us to know, that would give us, to me, the only reason they would hide it is because we would go, aha, that's what that means. They're hiding something that's critical to our investigation. And honestly, I would say probably critical to our theory of it not being a gunshot. The only reason they would hide it is if it went against their official narrative, which is the 30-06 gunshot.
And I think that's what it is, Colin. There, undoubtedly, my theory right now is there may be damage to that microphone that they don't want, whether it be that the microphone had an explosive in it, or whether it be that the microphone was damaged from the explosive that was on his waistline. And we don't know for sure which one that is, but obviously somewhere right there at his side was something that has detonated and that has caused damage to his hand, goes to his throat, enters in and kills this young man. And somebody wanted him to shut up. And all you have to do is go back and look at the videos of Charlie Kirk and his, one, he clearly was, some of the texts that were released, he was fearful of his life. He was fearful of Israel. And when you know who your threat is, and then you go back and you can look at what you were saying, like October 7th, was it an inside job? As he says on the video, he says, "No, I'm not willing to go so far that Netanyahu was involved." But clearly, as he said, there was a stand down order. Now you've got the man that helped Trump get elected, who's having such a major impact on university campuses. And this is that's the grassroots of all voters, all future voters are universities. And as soon as this man is dead, they immediately, I mean, Netanyahu was coming right out of the gate the very moment. It's like he knew before he even got shot, or in this case, being hit with fragmentation from a planted device. He knew immediately and was already, they had their campaign in order, and they were ready to put a blitz out there that Charlie Kirk was the biggest supporter of Israel ever, and that some thug shot him or killed him or whatever the case may be, because they didn't like Charlie and what he was saying. And then, of course, they put, what was it, Ben Shapiro almost at the helm for a little bit there to again, be the cheerleader for Israel and to try to bring TPUSA back on track after, as you pointed out not long ago, Colin, you'd showed the part there where Lori Cardozo-Moore was angry with Charlie because he did not stop Tucker Carlson, and he did not stop the crowd from heckling when, oh gosh, I forget her name now, but the girl that got up there that ran for president was speaking about Israel, and they were heckling her. And so she's writing Charlie personally about the way his actions and why he wasn't defending Israel. No, he was beginning to want to show other voices that there was a problem.
Absolutely. One more thing here. Someone says, I know you're seeing my question. Why are you using images of Kirk's left hand when he was in fact holding the mic in his right hand? Please reconcile the discrepancy. No, actually, he was holding it with both of his hands. And you can see that in the image that we posted. That's clearly his left hand holding the microphone.
Yeah, he may have taken the mic up maybe with his right hand, but if you look at, and I've looked at this from different multiple angles, he's got, when he goes down with the microphone, both hands are holding it between his legs. Both hands are right there. So it's no doubt
Exactly.
the reason the injury, just like it was to this side of his neck, it would make sense why the left hand is injured and not the right hand, because everything went to the left side of the body.
Bingo. I got one more thing I want to show you guys too, and this also supports the theory of a microphone explosion, either one of them, whether it be the one he's holding, whether it be the one under his chest. I don't know, but there was clearly something going on with the microphone, and this video, and this is actually eyewitness testimony from that day, where a congressman or former congressman, Chaffetz, I forget his first name, whatever, Jason Chaffetz, where he says that they were having mic problems prior to the start of the event. And I thought that's very interesting, considering what we know now about the shrapnel being all over the floor of the SUV, all over the scene, the little black shards, of the wounds on Charlie's hands, of all the weird behavior that day between, you got Terrell Farnsworth acting weird, filming selfies, instead of taking care of Charlie, he's filming selfies saying, Charlie's dead, Charlie's dead. And then you got, and then taking the camera, the SD card and the camera down right away before the police even get there. And then you got the audio guy himself, which was the guy controlling the microphones and the levels, where if you look at, there's one video Barron showed a couple of weeks ago where you can see that guy flinch a split second before it even went off. It's like he knew that there was about to be something happen. There was about to be a bang, because he flinched before the thing went off, which kind of alludes to foreknowledge. So between all that, and now we have Jason Chaffetz, which I missed this originally, but someone pointed this out to me yesterday, where he says that there were microphone problems that they were having there. I would like to know what kind of microphone problems they were having. What microphone are they talking about? Are they talking about his lapel mic? Are they talking about the microphone he was holding? Which microphone and what kind of problems? These are all very relevant facts that we need to know. But I'll play this for you guys real quick.
Again, I'm guessing 2,000 plus people. Charlie came out kind of right at noon local time, mountain time, throwing the hats, gearing up the crowd. They were having a little bit of a microphone problem, but everybody, they were chanting either USA or Charlie Kirk. And when they saw him backstage, they started chanting Charlie Kirk. They were really genuinely excited to see him. When they saw him backstage, they started chanting or Charlie Kirk. And when they saw him chanting either USA, they're having a little bit of a microphone problem. They're having a little bit of a microphone problem. But everybody's gearing up the crowd. They're having a little bit of a microphone problem.
Yeah, so that seems pretty relevant to me, don't you, Steve?
Yes, it definitely does, because if you're having a microphone problem, I mean, granted, we have microphone problems a lot, even when we were doing television and stuff. So yeah, it could be a genuine microphone problem, or it could be that something that was put into a device was causing a little bit of an issue and they haven't figured out how to resolve that yet, and they had to get it resolved. By the way, the persons that have said that he was using his right hand, the moment before the shot, that microphone, no doubt, was in the left hand. So I have it up for you, Colin, to be able to share with people as well. And I just wanted people to be able to see that in fact, at that moment, it was in his left hand. And that's when he's going to go down and be shot immediately thereafter. So yes, he may have been using his right hand throughout the entire thing or switching back and forth. But at that moment, the microphone was in his left hand, the very hand that we have the shrapnel on. So that would also explain then too, while that hand was still gripping the microphone when it went back down between his knees there and rested there before the impact came out. So, and yeah, the person that put that false flag, that's so true, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to what Debbie said here, the person that was filming Erica was Stacy Sheridan. That was the one that was filming Erica over the casket. She's the one that was coordinating all the very cringe PR moves, filming Erica over the casket crying, filming Erica, them carrying the body to the hearse, filming them on the tarmac crying with JD Vance. Like, she was the one that orchestrated it all, and she was doing it to raise donor funds. She was doing it for emotional blackmail to because when you invoke people's emotions, that makes them want to feel a certain way. And if it's people that you're trying to get money from, then that was their end goal. And we know that because, as Candace pointed out, one of the very wealthy women that Erica went to church with in the Catholic church that she attends Mass at, after Charlie died, they invited her to come to the big stadium funeral that they had for Charlie or whatever, and sit right next to the pastor that was there. And afterwards, then they tried to use her to get money. They went up to the very next mass that they had. Stacy Sheridan went up to her and was like, "Oh, would you like to speak with Erica?" And they specifically brought her over to her and invited her to Mar-a-Lago to be a donor for Turning Point. And she said she got down there and was like so freaked out and weirded out by it. And she got down there and it was all about the Jews and was nothing about what she really believed. Like, she was so turned off by it that she knew they were just trying to get her money. So Stacy Sheridan's bad news, but it was Stacy Sheridan who was the one that took those pictures, by the way.
What I did do, Colin, is I zoomed in on his hand. Now, granted, it's grainy, and the one spot is right there between his fingers. The other one would be there on the side of his thumb where you can't see right now. But when I zoomed in and magnified that all the way up, I don't see any marks on his hand whatsoever in that particular image. Now, again, it's not clear. It is grainy. It's a very low resolution. It's not a high resolution. so it's harder to tell. But it does seem to me that we're dealing with something that that definitely happened, and it happened right after that. And of course, if he had been shot with a 30-06, his hand wouldn't be scuffed up. All right, just plain as day. If that right there, that evidence alone, and maybe this is why they didn't want that to go out, Colin. Maybe they did not want the FBI. Nobody wants that out there. Why? Because that's evidence now that Tyler Robinson's defense team can use to say, why did this man have a scuffed up hand suddenly while he's sitting there in the chair? You know, it couldn't have happened in mid-flight if I actually was the guy that pulled a trigger on him. Totally false. Would not match anything whatsoever. It is clearly that whatever struck Charlie happened while he was sitting in that chair. It was from something that is right there by him, whether it's the microphone, whether it's the receiver pack on his waist that goes off, or even if it was the lapel mic itself that shattered or fragmented or something like that. I don't know which one it is, but it's clearly in one of those three categories right there. It goes off. It's damaged his hand. It goes into his throat. It hits his spinal cord, hits the brainstem, causes that paralysis motion where they grip their hands like that there, as that one doctor pointed out there. And it also explains why there was no penetration through to the other side, because it's actually going up at an angle. It's hitting at an angle, and not to mention still doesn't have quite the velocity, even though whether it be petin or some other type of explosive material that is used, it goes up at an angle, kind of, and they mention the word ricochet. Well, if you're hitting at an angle like that, that spinal column, it could cause a ricochet as well and damage more of that brain stem that caused all those reactions that we see. So now we can see that one or the other, we've got a clear path for either scenario to cause this event. And now it makes sense why the microchip was pulled out of the camera, or excuse me, not microchip, well, I guess what you want to call it. The SD card was pulled out of the camera immediately after this happened, because that was the one that clearly could show the evidence of what's going on. Because if it's something coming up from the front hitting him and not someone off in the distance hitting him, then they got to make sure that that evidence is secured. So, you know, there's so many things that happened that were obviously things were being removed. You talk about the pavers being put down on the ground, you know, that would make sense as well, because even though he is sitting there on a little stand, all around him, any little blast that went off that went there, that fragmentation of residue of explosive could have hit the ground. If there were forensics done on that ground around there, you would have found that. You know, even a dog that is trained for that could have picked up that residue was right there. It wasn't somewhere off 140 yards away or flying in the air as a drone would be or anything like that. Although I realize that these theories really have some very grounded basis that seem realistic, but none of it seems to match. I think that finally, after all these months, Colin, of the dedicated work you and your team have done, you know, it looks like we have really finally pulled off finding out exactly what's going on here. And I think, you know, it's worth the efforts now that the investigation really needs to move in a different direction. And now I would put everybody in that security detail as suspect to what has taken place here. So I see that we lost the video for a moment here with Colin, but I'm sure he'll be back here in just a second.
Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yes, hear you just fine. Hear you just fine.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to my video. I'm going to try to step out for a minute and come back in. All right.
Okay. So, but as I'm just saying here,
I'll put you full screen while I'm doing that.
Okay. You're back on. You're back on, Colin. So good deal. So I think that, you know, Candace has had every right to be so adamant about what happened that day. And I think she's had every right to question and to consider all the possibilities. She's had every right to say that maybe this person or that person was involved in this. And then a lot of people look at it later and say, oh gosh, you know, Candace, why are you accusing all these people? You know, they didn't have anything to do with this. How could you dare say that his closest friends would do this? Well, All you have
All
to do
she's
now,
doing is asking questions. Okay, we're
yeah,
journalists, and that's what we do. We trace down leads. We check the facts. We go through the evidence. We have to vet suspects. Sometimes they turn up and they are you know uh, our leads are credible, and we find out these people are suspects. And other times we can prove that they're not suspects, and we clear them. That's what we do. That's how journalism works. But you have to put it out there in the public. You have to uh, to put the information out there and to have people vet it before you can clear somebody. I mean, that's just how it works.
100%. And so I think that now that we have this information here, you couldn't be there. Now I realize, granted, when the man is shot, he's bleeding from the neck, things like that. You're not paying attention to what's going on with his hand. I get that. But it didn't take long for somebody to realize the man's hand is damaged as well. So I don't want to implicate everybody per se, but my point, and I'm sure your point as well is, Colin, is that, she had every right to question what she was questioning, especially with the evidence that we're seeing now. And yes, we looked at every possibility, and even the laser could, there's known facts, and I don't know if the laser played a part in this or not. But there is information out there where those type things can actually cause a detonation to go off. I don't know how that works. I'm not the expert on that. Don't want to claim to be, but I think now
that's the other thing, is that the laser that we found, that could very well have been the way, we thought it was what they used originally to spot for the sniper, but it actually could be what they used to detonate the thing, to actually set it off, to set the charge off. Who knows?
And that's exactly right, because that is something that that some people are not aware of, is that these types of laser systems can be used to detonate a charge. And I'll try real quick while you chime in here for a second, just to find that information to see if, because I think I remember looking that up one time.
Yeah. The one thing that we can be for sure about, though, is there's no way that Charlie was killed with a 30-06 rifle. There's no way he was even shot with a rifle, period. This evidence in particular clears any doubt up about that, because those wounds on Charlie's hand were not there before. They were there. They were caused from the bang, and that would not have been caused by a gunshot. There's no way, there's absolutely zero chance that a gunshot to the neck would have caused those injuries to his hands. Zero chance.
Okay, I got it now, Colin. Let me just read to you what this is here, because my question is can an infrared laser do this and cause something to actually detonate? And the answer is yes, that can be true. But a lot of times it is oversimplified by people because they don't completely, they completely misunderstand how that works. It has to be deliver focus heat energy and interact with a material that is sensitive to heat or light trigger and a design of an optical sensor. In other words, a device specifically engineered with something like either a photodiode, a phototransistor, a thermal sensor, and an optical fuse. Light-sensitive switches, then a laser, including an infrared laser, which is invisible to the eye, can be used as a remote optical trigger. All right, so that's what it is. Military demolition context, engineers go out of their way to prevent unintended triggers from environmental light sources, sunlight, so has an infrared or example. So the real world systems are usually hardened against random optical activation unless they are deliberately designed for that method. So the point being is it is theoretically possible and can be done, but it is normally done by a very sophisticated type of sourcing to do that. And again, the guy that actually had the infrared laser, we have been able to identify who that person is. Would they have even known if that, let's say that was used as a detonating device? Would they have known?
I cannot.
No.
I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but I have it written down. I have been able to identify him. He is a TPUSA employee. It's been with him for a long time in Arizona. So I was able to identify him.
Right. And again, with my work with government and the things that are done, there were things that I would be involved in that was a very major part of an operation, but I didn't realize the scope of it. I didn't realize that my part that we were dealing with was for a more serious thing that was going to cause very serious consequences for other people. And that's normally the way they work, so even if he was theoretically, if he could have been used for that, and I don't say that was what caused the detonation, definitely timing was important for this detonation to go off. And the way that if it's from the handheld mic, then they had to make sure that it was at the right point, the right time, the right hand, or the left hand in this case here, to where it would go off in the right order or the right way. If it's from the transceiver, everything had to line up just right and at the right moment. Now, the guy using this IR laser, could it have been that it was just a random freak thing that happened? Sure, it could have. May not have anything to do with it. The point that I'm looking at is that everything that happened at those very moments, those very critical points right there, just seemed to be a little bit odd. And so I don't think anything should be discounted as a possibility. But clearly, Tyler Robinson is sitting there and they're wanting to put this boy to death because they don't want him to ever be able to speak out. And they want to just rush this through real quick to make it look like no big deal. And that's how they do, especially when governments are involved, to silence someone because they have become a threat to the agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that with Erica Kirk filing, motion for a speedy trial or whatever to try to push it along, to hurry it up. They don't want an investigation. They don't want there to be, honestly, they don't even want it to be televised. They don't want the public to see anything at all. They just want to push it under the rug and make everybody forget about it. And that's why it's so critical that we continue talking about it. We keep it in the public eye. We keep the story alive, and we keep the pressure on. We cannot let up. And Tyler Robinson, they need, like I said, this proves without a doubt, along with many other things, this is one of the things that prove without a doubt that it was not a 30-06 gunshot. So the fact what they're charging him for is completely wrong. They really need to drop those charges. Is he guilty of something? Yes, he was definitely involved as some kind of co-conspirator in some way, but he did not fire any shot. He was not the actual assassin. He wasn't even there that day. So they need to let him go, man. It's not right. It's not right.
They're just looking for a patsy. And, even something happening to him in prison could easily still be part of the plan as well, so that he never makes it to trial.
Honestly, I don't think it's going. I honestly do not think it's ever going to go to trial. I think either he is going to be offed in prison, or, like I said, I know they've used brain to skull technology. Well, I don't know about brain to skull, but I know they've used mind control on him. CIA programs he was in, because he was actually him and his little boyfriend were in a honeypot program where they were honeypotting older men with the under this club called Buzzards and Bees. They were going in there and trying to catfish older gay men who were wealthy and powerful to get them, to get dirt on them to be able to use later for stuff. And that, honestly, that may be how they were able to get George Zinn to confess to this thing, for all I know, But regardless, they've used mind control on him. So I fear that they'll be able to get him to either take a plea deal confessing to it, or just, take him out completely. But I have a feeling it will not go to trial.
Or stage a suicide and leave a nice note for everybody to read that, oh, I really did do it. I'm so sorry, but I couldn't live with myself any longer. Yeah, I know how that works. So, you know, and that's something that Tucker or Candace or anybody needs to be very mindful of. You know, they have ways of making sure that you don't make it. If they decide that you've become too much of a threat, they'll go for that. So you have to really be mindful in every direction of what you're doing in life. It's that serious. And also keep in mind, even your doctor, be careful about which doctors you choose as well. So I'll just say that. Colin, what do you
Big
think? Are
time.
we about done for today?
Yeah, I think we covered everything we wanted to cover.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
It'll make people think, and we appreciate all of you that are
Absolutely.
listening. Please share this information everywhere you can, because, you know, all these false flags have got to come to an end. They really do. I mean, when I say false flag, it's not a false flag that the man didn't die, but they're trying to make it look like Tyler did it. That's the false part of it. That's the false flag. That's to get you to believe something that's not true. This man was taken out, and he was taken out because they wanted to shut him up. So I hate
Exactly. Make sure you guys are following Steve here. You can follow him on X at Stephen Denoon. You can also follow him on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel at Stephen Bendanoon on YouTube. Great guy. Make sure you're following him. Also, they have Substacks. Him and his wife Yana both have Substacks where they do excellent reporting. You should go check out them as well. If you want to tell them where you can find your Substacks, feel free.
Yeah, Substack. My wife has Substack at her maiden name at Yana Satova. That's spelled with a J, and Satova is Sutoova. And mine is just under my name, Stephen Benoon. Denoon is what the pen name I normally write books under, but Benoon is actually how you'd find it on Substack. It's Bennun. So we thank you, and thank you, Colin, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Amazing information that'll really educate you.
Oh, absolutely. You know, if you want to know what's really going on, you know, with the, you know, everything going on in Israel and, you know, what they're trying to do, and with, I mean, just you got to follow him and his wife. They do great work. They'll really open your eyes the way Candace has had her eyes open. You know, this is the stuff that she's seeing and been talking about. This is the exact same stuff. So definitely. Also, one more thing you guys know, I'm having problems with my dad. He's in the hospital. He suffered a stroke. I have a fundraiser pinned to the chat. If you guys want to help, please share it out. If you can donate, you want to donate, the link's pinned in there. Any help would be appreciated. And if you want to see an update, I'm not going to get into all that today, but you can watch the stream from yesterday. I gave an update on everything, but I just wanted to say that. So, and that's pretty much all we got for you guys today. I appreciate everybody for coming out. Anything else, Steve?
That's it. That's it for me. I do appreciate you sharing this information and getting this out to the world. So share it far and wide, friends.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's our show for today. I love you all. I appreciate you all. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.